The pink slip felt heavier than it looked, a flimsy piece of paper that somehow managed to weigh down my entire future. 7 years. 7 years I'd poured into consolidated shipping, loading trucks, enduring the early mornings, and even managing to crack a smile for the grumpy foreman. 7 years, gone in a brief meeting with a HR representative who couldn't even make eye contact. Downsized, they called it. Collateral damage in the pursuit of bigger profits, or so they claimed. More like my life was collateral damage. The drive home was a blur of anger and despair. My apartment, a cramped one-bedroom in a less than desirable neighborhood, suddenly felt like a cage. The weight of overdue bills, the looming specter of eviction, and the sheer hopelessness of my situation settled upon me like a suffocating blanket. I sank onto the worn-out couch, the springs groaning in protest, and stared blankly at the flickering television screen. News of the world's problems only amplified my own. I felt utterly defeated. That evening, I found myself staring at the meager contents of my wallet. A crumpled $10 bill, a collection of loose change, and an old, faded picture of my grandmother, my only real family. She always told me to never give up hope, and for the first time in my life, I really questioned whether I had the strength to follow that advice. I knew I needed to do something, anything, to break free from this downward spiral. On an almost subconscious whim, I decided to walk to the corner gas station. It was less a calculated decision and more a desperate act fueled by exhaustion and a tiny spark of rebellious hope. I knew it was foolish, gambling with the little money I had left, but the thought of a potential escape, however improbable, was too alluring to resist. Inside, the fluorescent lights hummed, casting a harsh glow on the rows of candy and brightly colored drinks. I usually just grabbed a soda. This time, I walked straight to the lottery ticket dispenser. 3 Lucky Stripes tickets, each promising a chance at a life-altering jackpot. It felt absurd, clinging to such a slim possibility. But as I paid for the tickets, handing over my last $10, I allowed myself a fleeting moment of optimism, a tiny whisper of hope amid the storm raging within. Back in my car, under the dim yellow streetlight, I began to scratch. The first ticket was a dud, as expected. I barely registered the disappointment. The second ticket was the same, a fleeting glimpse of matching numbers that faded into nothing. Resigned, I picked up the third ticket, half expecting another crushing blow. But as I scratched away the silver coating, my heart began to pound in my chest. 3 matching symbols, then 4, then 5. My hands trembled so violently that I almost ripped the ticket. And then, the final symbol revealed itself. The jackpot, $150,000. $150,000. The numbers swam before, my eyes blurring into an incomprehensible mess of digits. I stared at the ticket, then back at the instructions, then back at the ticket again. It couldn't be real. This kind of thing didn't happen to people like me, not after everything I'd been through. I felt a strange detachment, as if I were watching this unfold from outside my own body. A wave of disbelief washed over me, followed by a surge of elation so powerful that it brought tears to my eyes. I had won. I had actually won. The weight on my chest lifted, replaced by a lightness I hadn't felt in months, maybe even years. The eviction notices, the unpaid bills, the crushing despair of unemployment, all of it seemed to fade into the background, overshadowed by the sheer magnitude of this unexpected windfall. I couldn't stay still. I had to tell someone, anyone. I practically burst back into the gas station, waving the ticket in the air and shouting, "I won! I actually won!" The cashier, a young man with tired eyes, looked up from his phone, startled by my outburst. "I did it! I hit the jackpot!" His eyes widened as he took in the ticket, a slow smile spreading across his face. "Wow, man! That's amazing! Congratulations!" He told me about who to call and what paperwork I needed to complete. I thanked him profusely and was on my way. I was still reeling, buzzing with adrenaline and disbelief. It was a miracle. As I was in the middle of writing down the number the cashier gave me, a shrill voice pierced through the air. "Give me that ticket!" I looked up, startled, to see a woman barreling towards me. She was older, probably in her late 50s or early 60s, with blonde hair styled in a rigid, helmet-like fashion. Her face was contorted in a mask of anger and entitlement. "That's my ticket! You stole it from me!" I stared at her, dumbfounded. "Excuse me? What are you talking about?" "Don't play dumb with me, you thief!" she shrieked, her voice escalating. "I saw you. You snatched that ticket right out of my hand. Give it back." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. This woman, whoever she was accusing me of stealing my winning lottery ticket. "Ma'am, you're mistaken. I bought this ticket myself. I have the receipt." "Liar!" she screamed, her face turning red. "I was just about to buy that ticket, and you grabbed it. You probably swapped it with a fake one. I want my money!" By now, a small crowd had gathered, drawn by the commotion. The cashier was watching us with a mixture of concern and apprehension. I tried to remain calm, but my heart was pounding in my chest. This was absurd. I had just won the lottery, a life-changing amount of money, and now I was being falsely accused of theft. "Ma'am, I assure you, I didn't steal anything," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "I bought this ticket, fair and square. If you don't believe me, call the police. They can check the security cameras." "Oh, I will call the police," she spat, pulling out her phone. "I'm going to report you for theft, and you're going to jail where you belong." She was dialing as she was yelling. I could hear the numbers being pressed. My lucky day was turning into a nightmare. All the hope I had felt moments ago was rapidly draining away, replaced by a cold, familiar dread. Was this really happening? Was this my reward for finally catching a break? The woman, now on the phone with 911, rattled off my description, her voice dripping with disdain. "He's a tall black man, wearing a blue jacket," she said, her words laced with prejudice. "He stole my lottery ticket. I need an officer here immediately." I stood there, frozen, as she continued to fabricate her story. I could feel the eyes of the other customers burning into me, their expressions a mixture of suspicion and judgment. The cashier, bless his heart, looked like he wanted to intervene but was clearly afraid. Within minutes, the flashing lights of a police car filled the parking lot. 2 officers emerged, their faces grim. The woman pointed at me dramatically, her voice filled with righteous indignation. "That's him, officer. That's the thief. He stole my winning lottery ticket." The officers approached me cautiously, their hands hovering near their weapons. "Sir, we need you to step away from the vehicle and put your hands where we can see them," one of them said, his voice firm and authoritative. I complied, my heart sinking with each passing second. I knew how this looked. A black man, standing in a gas station parking lot, accused of stealing a lottery ticket by a white woman. I knew the stereotypes, the prejudices, the biases that could easily lead to a wrongful arrest. "Officer, I didn't steal anything," I pleaded, trying to explain my side of the story. "I bought this ticket myself. I can show you the receipt." "We'll sort all that out at the station," the officer said, cutting me off. "Right now, you're being detained for questioning." They handcuffed me, the cold metal biting into my wrists. The humiliation was overwhelming. I could feel the gazes of the onlookers, their whispers and assumptions further fueling my despair. As they led me towards the police car, I saw the woman smirking triumphantly, her eyes filled with malice. I was being arrested for a crime I didn't commit, all because of a false accusation fueled by prejudice and entitlement. My dream of a better future, the hope that had blossomed just moments ago, was now being crushed under the weight of injustice. I was put in the back of the squad car and was driven to the precinct. Just as they were about to drive away, the POO, cashier from the gas station, rushed out, waving frantically. "Officer! Officer, wait!" The officer stopped the car and rolled down the window. "What is it?" one of them asked, his tone impatient. "I saw everything," the cashier said, his voice trembling slightly. "That man, John, he bought those lottery tickets himself. I remember him because he was so excited when he won. I even gave him the claim number. The woman is lying. She wasn't even in the store when he bought the tickets." The cashier had remembered John's excitement when he won. He held up the security camera footage on his phone. "I have proof. The security cameras recorded the whole thing. You can see him buying the tickets, scratching them off, and then coming back inside to celebrate. She was nowhere to be seen." The officers exchanged glances, their expressions shifting from suspicion to surprise. They watched the video footage, their faces growing increasingly grim. It was clear that the woman's story was a complete fabrication. The officer sighed and got out of the car. He walked over to me and uncuffed me. "Sir, I apologize for the misunderstanding," he said, his tone now respectful. "It appears we have made a mistake." He then turned to the woman, his voice hardening. "Ma'am, you are now under arrest for filing a false police report and making false accusations. You have the right to remain silent." The woman's face paled as she realized the gravity of her situation. She started to stammer, trying to backtrack, but the officers were having none of it. They handcuffed her and led her to the police car, her protests falling on deaf ears. The crowd, which had been silent moments before, erupted in murmurs of disbelief and outrage. Some shook their heads, disgusted by the woman's behavior. Others offered me words of support and encouragement. I looked at the cashier, his face flushed with relief, and mouthed a silent thank you. He had risked his own safety to stand up for the truth, and I would never forget his act of courage. The arrest of the woman was a huge weight off of John's shoulders. He didn't do anything wrong, and he was hoping that they would see it that way. After the police finished questioning the cashier and him, they let him go. It was still a very emotional day, but I felt great that everything came back to me. The next day, after a sleepless night, I went to the lottery headquarters to claim my prize. The process was surprisingly straightforward, and within a few weeks, the money was deposited into my newly created bank account. I consulted with a financial advisor who helped me create a plan to manage my winnings responsibly. I paid off all my debts, secured a more stable living situation, and invested a portion of the money for the future. I also made a point of thanking the cashier, whose name was David, for his honesty and bravery. I offered him a portion of my winnings as a reward, but he refused, saying that he had simply done what was right. I ended up donating a significant amount to a local charity in his name, ensuring that his kindness would continue to make a difference in the community. The incident with the woman left a scar, a reminder of the prejudice and injustice that still exists in the world. But it also reinforced my belief in the power of truth and the importance of standing up for what is right. The experience was a turning point in my life, a catalyst for change, and a reminder that even in the darkest of times, hope can prevail. With this money, I plan on going to school and starting a career in business. It was always a dream of mine, and now my new beginning starts.